please remember to leave a like, a comment, share the video about, and if you haven't already, subscribe. Thank you. Well, isn't this just fantastic? Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Yesterday I indicated that I would perhaps give some time out of our rather hectic schedules to go and take a look at what Shanny for Christ and the baby carrot peen have been up to, because I didn't know until yesterday they're still active on YouTube after being yeeted, banned from multiple platforms multiple times, being flagged to high hell, reported at every opportunity. Enough time has passed that people are no longer as bothered by their existence. Attrition appears to have been the tactic employed by the perennial grifters and e-beggars, so much so they are able to continue the grind and make their monies to pay for the cigarettes, the pizzas, and the poor decisions. Nothing responsible, because that's not how Shanny operates. Because it's a 6-hour live stream that I had mentioned yesterday, I've recorded the first 20 minutes of it. Technically 30, as I sped it up 1.5 times, and we're going to go through some of that. I have not full screened it so you can see the chat, but from time to time Shanny will ban someone from her chat. We won't know who, because sadly the way YouTube works, it removes all their messages as well. But it's always nice to see how Shanny is operating these days.
I think we're live.
Okay. Alrighty. I don't know how talkative I'm going to be, but we'll see.
I don't know how talkative I'm going to be either.
Your live stream is 5 hours and 40 minutes. You may start by saying such things, but we both know you go on for quite some time. And you can go off when motivated in the right way, more notably when things are negatively said towards you. Two things of interest just by looking at you both: the fake looking down in the dumps, that's fine. Also, I could have sworn the last time I saw Rev, he resembled a cancer patient having had to resort to shaving his head as atonement for his sins. Shanny just looks like she's put on another 30 pounds. Now I have another question, query, point I guess. Where are the kids these days? Or is it just the two of you now?
We both feel like hell. I just want to basically apologize for me losing my temper also today, because I'm just in a lot of pain.
I've had this repetitive circular argument with people who feel it only right that when they're in discomfort, stressed, or in some manner under pressure because of external or internal problems, that it's not right to pass the buck on to others by lashing out at them. Sadly for Shanny and the corner of the internet she inhabits, it's unlikely she'll ever be anything but that kind of person, because to introspect is one thing, but to implement and make meaningful change is not something either are capable of doing. We know this because they think to make money all they have to do is sit in front of a camera for 6 hours and engage with the trolls, haters, and their fans? Oh, that's a weird thing to say with them, isn't it?
And I don't like being gaslighted, and he doesn't like being gaslighted either.
Yeah.
So that justifies the aggression. Okay. If you really just want to get by, and by doing so you just want to make your money from your content, then surely it would be wise and unwise, depending on your interpretation, to go on the offensive like your senpai Chantal does, responding with rage to drive up relevancy, which is something, by the way, you mention later in the clip we have here concerning Miss Hussey, I believe.
It's completely inappropriate how me and Jason are being treated. Completely inappropriate.
Are we sure about that? I did a content constable on you many years after you were at your peak of relevancy, as it were, and I showcased all the worst possible things you've ever done. That would include how you blew all that money, what you blew it on, how you treat each other, the physical and the violent stuff, how you treated your children, the content itself. It is very hard for places like the internet to ever use what is dubbed a form of forgiveness, or grant another a form of opportunity. You are only here right now, even though you are clearly ban evading, because people have stopped caring enough to flag you. And by the way, as a disclaimer in this video, please don't. We don't do them tings on this channel. Thank you.
These stupid trolls called the police on us again today. He got his stern talking to by the police.
I mean, I wouldn't put it that way, but they're not as friendly, because when this keeps happening, and now there was this other thing that happened with a live stream, things are going to start changing in how they deal with it. So, yeah.
For the sake of it, I will never support or condone swatting, which is what has happened in this case. I know that Shanny and Rev have a very dedicated fanbase, which I know on the face of it sounds like a bit of a misnomer, but this level of dedication comes from fans who want to enjoy your suffering, right? Many have not, will not, shall not forgive you for what you did to your children, or other people's homes, and to yourselves. I'm not going to justify their actions, only state what I believe their motivation to be. Had you two perhaps learned some subtlety in your life, there'd be less chance of you being found so easily. That's more advice. Again, I'm not trying to what could be dubbed victim blame, because you're not victims.
You reported me to the district attorney with all abuse videos.
Thanks, Warborg.
Thank you, Warborg.
We need that. We need that. We need the super chat, and we need the prayers. Thank you.
What abuse videos?
If you want to see some of Shanny and Rev's greatest hits, by all means go watch the content constable I did on them. It is, in my mind, comprehensive and reduced back enough that it does provide ample context and show many clips of them doing what they will do because they are losers.
I'm going to be straight with everybody. For me, I am viewing this as a business. If it were me alone, I would probably not pay attention to 90% of what happens in the chat. The fact of the matter is she can't ignore this stuff.
Firstly, as far as business goes, I can fully understand that kind of motivation. However, you should never ignore your chat, even if 90% of it are being hateful towards you. Shanny can't ignore it, because much like her senpai mod, Chantel, they are compulsive. They need it for conversation because they do not possess in their minds an original thought. They need the energy of the chat, that includes the negativity they receive, rightfully so. In the case of you, Baby Carrot Peen, you can view it like the contrarian that you are, in any way you like. It does not change that you will also react to it if pushed hard enough.
So I made it clear today that there's a choice to be made here. Like, we're either going to do this as a business, or we should stop this. Because it's not good for you. It's really...
I'm fine when people don't come in and harass me and treat me like I'm this non-human evil entity. And that got you blocked for that stupid question.
Earlier I mentioned Shanny blocks people and we don't get to see the questions. Yeah. Rev also pointed out that Shanny can't help but respond to things. She kinda did then, didn't she? If she just ignored it and let her mods take care of it, perhaps that would have been handled better. Because of her obsession, she will still address that kind of question anyway. Again, this is entirely because there is no original material in the hollowed out cranium.
Dang, I like these live streams. I like them too for the most part, but how do you deal with such a large amount of hate? And just this total slander on who I am?
Well, that's something not many of us can answer, because a lot of us, especially the creators, we don't create communities that dislike us. And if anyone does dislike us, it's because of something we've done or said. In my sphere, it's usually because of things like politics, or because many within my audience are snowflakes that need to grow up, or me. I probably need to grow up too, actually. In your case, it's entirely because you put your life on screen. You vlogged, you live streamed for hours, your children featured, and you were horrible to them. You took for granted, you blew your way through a lot of money, you were homeless, you e-begged at every opportunity. Everything was a drama between the pair of you because your relationship is, while symbiotic, quite negative. Where there's slander to you, others see it as justifiable. Criticism, that is. Blocking it out, by the way, does not make it simply go away, but you can keep trying. It's quaint.
Like, they say that I'm a protected class, but I don't feel like I'm being protected.
That doesn't mean shit.
Yeah, I know.
Protected class, that doesn't mean anything. You're not, really. No mentally ill person is. You just gotta go through what you go through. And now there's not even really any mental health services, really. Which is terrifying. That's really scary. To know that if you actually have a moment where you crack completely, there's no help.
No.
That's scary.
This level of obfuscation is typical of Shanny and Rev. Mental health services are one thing, but then Shanny has everything because Nurgle's blessing is upon her. You are not a protected class per se, but I am somewhat impressed that YouTube themselves clearly have given up on bothering to remove all your accounts that should be removed. Or is this the part where we find out the account's not owned by you but by one of your children?
That's really frightening. Place to be in.
No, I agree with that, Janet. It's not that people don't like me. It's the harassment. It's calling police.
Well, when something like the yelling goes on, then they got an excuse to call them and say there's a domestic now. Because of that live stream.
It's crazy. They really need to get out of people's lives like this.
You do realise, though, that because of the volatility of your relationship, and based on the stream you are talking about, they can argue, the haters and the trolls, that this was a wellness check done to ensure your safety because you both have a track record of doing nasty things to each other. Let's not forget here the reason why Rev shaved his head to begin with, and the fact you have physically attacked Rev as well. I think he's also spat on you, which was in Content Constable. Might well have struck you as well. I can't remember if that was the case or not.
It really is. But you know what? I'm just gonna keep saying that they're harassing me. Because they are. You know, and it's normal to feel sad and upset when people are lying about you and slandering you. Is it maybe the hormones due to your pregnancy?
Oh my god, okay. Ha, she's heavy, so she's pregnant. My god, give me a break. That's literal middle school humor.
And yet, when you think yourself above it, you engage with it. Shanny will, you said she would, but you did as well. When you said you treat this like a business, you're still engaging with 90% of the chat as opposed to ignoring 90% of the chat. Although, since you need your chat, it would be wise to always engage with them, even if you don't like what they say. Perhaps make up some cue cards for suitable, polite ways of fobbing those members of your audience off. Less engagement because they get the bants out of it, and more constructive criticism taken on board to perhaps better oneself. But then this is the life of Shanny. Shanny will do nothing to improve her situation, instead using every individual issue she claims to have as a reason to do nothing. I've said this many times before, there are many on the internet who like to make every excuse for why they can't do something, not providing one reason for why they can do something. Shanny is that person.
This comes from people being very extremely hurtful for the sake of seeing somebody miserable. That's what's going on. That's what you're seeing. And a person can only go through that for so long until your mind starts to crack. And let's just say that she's gone through this for 11 years. So there's consequences to that.
It's impressive that Shanny's been at this for 11 years. It's impressive she has devoted so much time to being a superstar. We can blame Shane Dawson for that one, for the attention anyway. When reality is, she's made a lot of money e-begging, but doing nothing. Sitting, staring at the chat, offloading her emotions and her anger onto the audience, and her children and her partner who's returned it in kind. She has never been anything but toxic. So can you really tell me that this is a consequence of poor mental health from the criticism, or a consequence of her poor decisions causing that deterioration? Because I'm inclined to believe it's more the latter than the former.
There just is. And then you add an element of calling authorities, and then it's a whole other... The level of nightmare at this point is like, you know, Freddy Krueger type shit, you know?
You'd have a point if you weren't comparing this whole situation to a nonce, maybe. Nah, you don't have a point.
It's like a nightmare that you cannot wake up from. That's pretty much what it is. And all we want to do is just make a living on the internet. We just want to have a place for people to come that it isn't going to be hateful shit, and we do some entertaining stuff.
I don't want to be treated like anymore.
So first things first, I did watch all of this stream. You say you want to be entertaining, I don't know where the entertainment starts. This coming somewhat ironically from a cartoon with a monotone delivery. You, Shanny, are not the arbiter of when your penance is truly paid. And with the internet, the problem you have is, your dirty laundry, almost literally actually at this point, was laid bare for all to see, and they've seen plenty of it. This would also include the only fupa fibre of failed adult film actor content. Because the internet is forever, it is unlikely you'll ever be able to just get by with a job like this. Too much of your personal life is known, your history has been recorded by many creators and some reactors.
But these people that their goal is to make you feel bad, they're going to be there. They just are. And they got our number now, so it can be in our texts too. There's a nightmare.
I have no idea how they managed to get Shanny's number. I would recommend doing something that Chris Chan does, and getting a burner phone and vetting everyone you add to that burner phone. Because that way you have a line of communication with people who you trust. And if anyone blows that trust, you get another burner phone, rather than spending it on cigarettes, pizza, or any other thing you used to buy, or still buy, that you really shouldn't be wasting your money on, because what's the fucking point? Really. And yes, I'm being a little helpful for a second. Don't worry, I'll go back to being a bit of a dick in a moment.
There should be legal consequences for this. There really should.
Yeah, Nacho, man, you're going to have, like, extra overtime work today. Because
they're all out, man.
Because of G-Man. Because of him going on Hussy. So that's 100% why this flood of shit came.
What recent actions have I done to require such hate and lunacy?
The word recent there is quite important in this, isn't it? It's not that you did anything recently, it's that others hold a grudge. And so they will drag you with all that history. They will drag you because of what you've done. You took advantage of G-Man's good graces. And you really did. And he is well within his right to hold a grudge against you both and go to town on you both. Even if it isn't recent, he is well within his right to do that. Everyone is, really. So what have you done recently? Sod all, you're still sat in the same sodding armchair. But over time, you did enough to warrant his attention in the negative. Try not to forget here, he went to bat for you for a long time. And I covered that in the Content Constable as well.
Get off it. I'm so sick of people using this excuse. You're a public figure. People have a right to critique you. There's criticism, and then there's bullying. When someone says, leave me alone, that's when it comes from critique to bullying, because you're not respecting someone's boundaries.
Just because you've said leave me alone doesn't mean you're the arbiter of that. Also, you say it every time you open your mouth and have done something negative first. You'll then say leave me alone because you don't want the blowback. Actions and consequences on the internet mean that leave me alone as a statement carries no weight. You put far too much of the private into the public. So where you are conflating criticism and bullying, or confusing them, you are also misunderstanding them. The majority of the criticism you receive is exactly that. But because of who's saying it, you believe it to be bullying. You also believe it to be that because you want to be left alone. The thing is, the internet does not forget. They remember your name. They remember who you were, who you are, and what you've been. And you are not forgiven by the internet. You're well within your right to keep trying to be an influencer, I guess. Or whatever this is, an entertainer. But nothing's ever going to change because you never changed with it. Or improved, for that matter.
Yeah, they used to say the same thing to Vaughn. Well, you're a public figure, so we can do this to you. No, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't give you the right to constantly call authorities and all this shit. It just doesn't give you that right. No. Just because someone's a public figure, it doesn't mean anything other than, like, you're going to know maybe a little bit more about them than other people. That's all it means. It doesn't give you the right to know when this shit. That's not how it works.
I see we're still operating under the idea that we're smarter than we really are, hey Rev? Baby Carrot Peen at his best with the mental gymnastics. I like this idea that you two are public figures. That fascinates me. There is some truth to it, but also no, it's inflating one's sense of self-importance. I have many more subscribers and I don't consider myself a public figure in the slightest. I'm sure somebody in my comments will be pedantic enough to say, but you are because of this criteria. Don't be that guy, girl, other, please. In this instance, focus on the task at hand. And also, my consideration is my opinion. Thank you. In this instance, the people that criticize you, regardless of what you make public or keep private, are still well within their right because of the freedom to speak that we all have the right to, or should have a right to, but we all have a right to. Let's play that game for a bit. Therefore, you will be criticised by everyone regardless, irrespective of your wishes to not be. Now, there is more that I had screen recorded, but I don't want this video to go too long. If you want a part 2 where I carry on, let me know in the comments, and if there's enough interest, say 1,000 likes, I'll do a part 2 to this stream and carry on with their nonsense. Thank you for being here, guys. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day. Thank you for listening.